Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to Touching You Talk Show. This is Elder Sheila, and I have a very special guest with me in the person of Dr. Robert Cannon. How are you today, sir?
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure, Elder Sheila.
All right, all right. So I usually ask my guests how long have we known each other? Not long, huh? Not long.
No, but the pleasure is all mine and yours as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So how did you find Touching You Talk Show? Tell me.
I've been dealing with outreach as it relates to getting the platform out and helping with the platform of domestic violence. And when I was reaching out, I saw what you were doing. I actually was, it was astonishing. So I just want to be a part of it, and whatever way we can, link up and get the word out and get these women some help. All men, I'm excited about it.
All right. So tell me about you. Where are you from?
Well, I'm from New Orleans. I'm a high school teacher as well as a detention officer, so I work with juveniles all day as well as students. I have I finished the secondary education from Southern University for my bachelor's. My master's, I got it, a master's in correctional administration, and my doctoral from Walden University in criminal justice as well.
Wow. So tell me what that is like working with youth at the detention center. I'm sure you see a myriad of behaviors. What's the most common?
Absence of fathers.
Mm,
The kids are doing it too, but our, our common situation that as it relates to juveniles is they don't have a good relationship with their father, or they're missing that absent father figure. And I really believe they're missing that balance. I'm not saying a woman can do it. I take my hat off to them because I had to raise a female daughter by myself. That was interesting. So anytime you're raising a child of the opposite sex, you try and get as much balance as possible, but still, you know, that in the absence of church, they're not going to church as well. So, along with the culminating effect of laws that exploit situations that get juveniles more caught up in the situation they're in, like right now in New Orleans, in Louisiana, they dropped the juvenile rate. Instead of adult becoming 18, now it's 17. So it's been a whole
mm.
change in the way that people, children, youth are being prosecuted. And since that has happened, it's been a drop in the intake as well, the juveniles in the juvenile facilities.
Wow, because they're actually sending 17-year-olds to adult facilities.
Yes,
Oh
they going.
my goodness.
Yes, they are.
So are they like in the general population or are they segregated by age?
Well, when I worked in the adult penitentiary, usually the juveniles, when they were 16, that's considered as adults, they were housed with the adult offenders, but they were on a segregated tier. So if it was 15 rows of cells going on, they might be the first two, and adults might be the last 8 or 9. So they don't come into general population to 18. Now, since they're changing the adult age to 17, I haven't been privy to work in that type of situation with adults since that law has been enacted. So I don't know how they're treating them, but I do know that normally they don't let them into general population until they're 18.
Wow. I mean, who made that decision? I mean, it's not like voter decision. Who made that decision to raise that
Oh,
age?
the voters in Louisiana voted that,
Wow.
and it's a law.
Mm. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So let me ask you, is it true rehabilitation or is it just a place to stay?
Rehabilitation has to be a part of uh, metrics that helps people leave the penitentiary. Right now, the things that are set up for the people that come into the penitentiary. Like at one time, I was a drill instructor, which was a impact. It's called Impact. The program was Impact. It was set up for non-violent drug offenders, and who had 10 years. If they finished the program, they'd be in 3. But they'd have serve safe. They would offer them air conditioning refrigeration classes, GEDs, and also along with programming to help them establish themselves. So when they went out, it wouldn't come back in. Now, right now, I don't know of a program that's set up like that, but they do have trades in the penitentiary, penal facility for adults. But the balance where they might have a GED with it, or suppose they didn't get a job in welding, they might have to do serve safe. There's not a balance that helps them deal with the problems of coming back, because the recidivism lies with people. Don't realize when a person goes to prison, even though they're doing time, they coming back to the same situation. You hurt the same people, you disappoint the same people, so they have to deal with coming back to know that that's a process. It can't just go back being the way it was. It's a process of forgiveness and understanding and reconcile.
Wow, 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 wow. So you wrote a book, I Own You, Victims of Intimate Partner Violence in Workplace. What made you decide that this book was necessary for us?
Well, actually, when I first got started in my PhD program, before I even started a PhD program, I didn't know what I was going to research. There's so much dealing with criminal justice that, I had nowhere to start from. It was a plethora of information. I talked to a social worker, very God-fearing woman. She was like, "Well, Cannon, why don't you do no domestic violence?" Oh, hold up, domestic violence? I don't know nothing about that. It's like when you hear about domestic violence, it's almost like a knee-jerk situation. Like I don't, but that is due to the fact of lack of understanding. And so when she started giving me information, she said, "Cannon, it's not about sex; it's about power." And the more I read into it, I felt like I was drawn into a vortex, just pulled in. And when I did my research, I just kept going. First, I started off with a domestic violence registry, and they told me that was too politicized and there's a law, so I couldn't do my research in that area. So I started talking about policy, and as it relates to the policy states that there's no actual government policy on domestic violence in the workplace. So
Hmm.
that was my gap in research in dealing with the voices of the victims and how they're impacted and getting what they're saying out, speaking for them with the level of academic as well as not so much my own personal experience, but as far as it relates to the 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 feminine perspective lens. So I try to give a balanced outlook and as well as perspective towards people getting help for themselves, as well as work, as well as at home.
So, do you find that there are people who don't even realize that their situation is considered domestic violence?
Yes, because if you don't truly understand what domestic violence is, you can't realize you're a part of it. Some people think that he just had a bad day. Domestic violence is not about power. It's not about sex. It's about power. So it can range it can go from a wide range of things such as hiding people's phones, punching, kicking, controlling a car, and taking the keys so they can't go anywhere. Control, um, preventing them from go to work, taking controlling their finances, controlling how they spend time with their friends, their family. So it's more or less the abuser or the narcissistic person that's in control of that situation over the one that's been abused. They try to consume the person's lifestyle.
So, kind of give us an example of domestic violence in the workplace.
Okay, well, one example is that a woman could be experiencing a situation at home. So the existential threat of domestic violence can be compounded. It can be compounded. It can be synergized. So suppose a person is getting hit, compare the person's being compounded, a compounded situation with a person's not being hit, but they're being controlled by their finances, where they're going, emotionally, their children. So domestic violence can go into a wide range of directions. So as a person is at work, they can experience an imposter syndrome. Now, imposter syndrome, that makes a person feel like they're not worthy of recognition at the job or they're never good enough. So they always look like they're staying at work longer, and they don't want to go home. They have work for hours and they don't want to go home. And it's not just that person's doing work, that person feels like they're more safe at their job than they're at home. But when the person comes to the job and brings the domestic violence there, now they're no longer safe at home or at work. So it can vary, and the metrics can change, but it can, once they come to the job, they can be assaulted in a parking lot. They can be assaulted at the work in a break room. The employee might they could be dating an employee, and they might control their finances, their work time, if you don't want to be bothered with them anymore. And if a person has not been working in Louisiana, full-time employment status begins after a year of employment. You're a temporary employee until then. So if something, and you're at will, so if something happens that's not conducive to the work environment, like marks, scratches, or stalking, excuse me, they can fire you for no reason.
Wow. 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 So would bullying be a part of this domestic violence that you're talking about in the workplace?
Well, not particularly, because bullying can be through texting, it can be through physical, it can be through a group of people taunting a person at the workplace, targeting. A narcissistic person can be doing that on their own. And they're doing it to control them. A bullying situation is trying to put them down. They're not trying to control them. A narcissistic or abuser is trying to control them, to manipulate them, to get the person that's being abused to do what they want to do. Why are you wearing those clothes to work? Why are you going to bed with lipstick? Why are you going 5 miles past where you're supposed to go? And so, and we're sharing our location. You know I am. And technically, the person has theirs all, but yours is on. And well, I just got you something to put in the car to help me know where you are, so you're safe. Why you didn't call when you get off work? So it's a constant check and balance for them, to keep them from flying off the handle, or from the abuser to become aggressive and saying, you made me do this because you didn't do that. And so it gets like that.
All right. So I am going to share my screen and we're going to talk about your book. And your book can be purchased on Amazon. All right. So let's talk about how did you come up with the name? I own you. Tell me.
One of the victims that I interviewed, it was 12 women that were interviewed to in order to be an academic. It's academic scholarly work. So in order for it to be academic, it has to go through the book information has to go through certain rigor for it to be academic. So as it related to some of the people who were talking, out of the person that was interviewed, one of the person who interviewed, they said the person that was abusing them said, "I own you," and so that resonated with the book, and how people feel as though the person owns them, or feel like they're over them or controlling them. So it kind of like spoke out to me. I felt like God put in my heart to do that, and after that, that's what I did.
All right. It says a woman's experience with intimate partner violence is traditional has traditionally been considered a domestic issue. So this term, intimate partner violence, where does that come from? Tell me more about that.
Well, it's just another way of explaining about the culminating effects of or the impacting effects of domestic violence, because some people just say, well, I'm not in a domestic situation. Well, now you're in an intimate situation. So anytime it's just giving it another, you can't fight what you can't see. So anytime someone's trying to manipulate, I'm not domestic violent, yes, but domestically, I'm not violent towards you as far as domestically, no, but you're intimately with me and you're controlling me. And so it's just a different form of terminology, but it means the same thing.
All right. It says often the workplace may be unprepared to deal with these situations. However, increasingly attention has been turned to how companies can play a role in stopping IPV in the workplace, including learning what IPV is, identifying targets of IVP, and establishing programs that can help the victims. So we can glean this information from your book on how to identify the targets of IPV?
Yes. So in order to target it, it has to be a transparent situation because you can't target something that you don't know anything about. And a lot of times the company does not have a policy in the break room. The EEOC is not really trained to deal with that. They're more or less just trained to harassment, but not domestic violence. And so these type of target areas that need to be addressed because for some reason the companies pretend it is not happening. But yeah, you see people getting killed at the workplace or suicide at the workplace, and the man took out the wife and him at the same time. They come to the work and do things, and it was blaring indicators or red flags before that probably happening, but no one wanted to get the person the proper help they needed to establish the type of surveillance or, for that matter, transparency where they can come talk to somebody without feeling doing some retaliation. Because right now, if a woman feels as though something's going wrong with that person and they're being abused by, if they take off from work to go file for a stay away order or file for some type of help or order to keep people away from them, they don't have the protection to take off from work because it's not a medical situation. So they can get fired. They can get a non-excused absence. They already probably missed a couple of days because of dealing with that person saying you can't go to work today. I'm keeping a car, or taking all the money out of the account, and the person don't have money to eat, or just get back and forth to work. And a lot of times they use the children as a form of manipulation to stop the person from going to work. Also, I'm not watching. You watch your own children. I didn't have them. You had them. So there's the policies aren't there to help people, and that's what the book identifies: the fact that there need to be policies and ways that companies can go about talking on platforms to help talk to their employees about helping people that they might know at the workplace experience domestic violence, as well as employers receiving training.
Okay, all right. So the people that you interviewed, are they different, various backgrounds and races? Tell me about the people that you
Yes,
interviewed.
they're different. All of them work in the public sector. Nobody's private, and they're all women ranging
Okay.
from 22 to 61. So I mean, it varies in age. There was no cluster in age or race. It was just they all worked in the public sector and they all had experiences with domestic violence.
So in your research, have you found that there's like a particular age group where there is more domestic violence within an age group, or is that with every age group?
Usually within the range of, I'll say the 20-30 group is more prevalent. I'm not saying 40-60 don't experience it, but it's more prevalent around those ages, mainly because of the fact that people like to operate along lines of chaos. And usually when at that time of age, as far as them getting a foothold on life, a lot of people have a hard way of trying to point out or deal with stress. And so, and then like I said, it's more reported within those age groups. I'm not saying 40-60 don't experience it, but there was just a situation uh, where an older gentleman killed his wife with domestic violence. That was like in his 60s. So I mean, it can happen.
It can happen no matter what. All
Yeah.
right. So what if someone that is watching now is experiencing domestic violence? What advice can you give them?
Well, first of all, you have to realize I'm talking to the person as a victim. You have to make a, a, a thought or create a thought, address it to yourself. Am I a victim or a survivor? Because that is going to be an indicator of you coming out of this or not. Once you go into survival mode, you can do more things because you're not worried about the implicating factors or something happening to you because you're worried about you and your children. As it relates to that, when you leave your cell phone. Leave your cell phone because you can be tracked. You can be tracked through your cards. Sometimes your cards are connected to your cell phones. And so when you leave, have a plan of action. There are also places that can help you, like such as the Salvation Army, the Red Cross. The Salvation Army, I know for a fact, has an umbrella, and what they do is they have other agencies that can help on homelessness, shelters. They give you some type of paperwork to help you go to those shelters, references. Also, when you're there, you might want to talk to legal aid if you can't afford to get a lawyer to get away from the person or to file for separation and a stay away order. And you might want to talk to your DA, district attorney, keep any type of information that this person using to harass you, but definitely get that stay away order to protect not just the person who's being stalked, but attacked, but the people that are helping you around you, so you can call the police. Now, also, what I found out, the abusers are doing two things. One, they can jam that if they get convicted because there's a felony and there's misdemeanor domestic violence. If they convicted as a felon, they can jam that ankle monitor with aluminum. So that can take place. So please be watchful and mindful of what you're doing. Please be mindful that when you're talking to people, everybody's not a counselor. Sometimes your family members can be toxic. They might tell you, go back home. I don't know why you left. Things like that. You never think that you hear certain things, people, they're not trained. They're dealing with the knee-jerk reaction of domestic violence. Also, when you're dealing with referrals to agencies like to the DA, the district attorney, follow through with it, stay fast with it, keep it. Everybody's not gonna, I'm sorry to say everybody doesn't have a good attitude towards help, but you have to stay strong and pray up and follow through with all your measurements, appointments that you need, as well as far as showing up to get the proper paperwork taken care of to protect yourself and your children. As it relates to staying away, that is the best way to deal with it. Stay away. Don't go back. It's gonna get rough. It's mental. It's gonna get rough because you're not in a situation. People use finance to control people as well. Oh, we had a nice house. Come on back to this house. Somebody else gonna be in it. Come on back. The children need me. And sometimes the abuser plays a narcissistic role and come complain to your family that you doing something to him. They even start crying. She's doing this, and they're like, "You're doing all that to this man." It's like, this is not happening. He's very abusive. Yeah, right. They played a nice role to get you back. I call it the Cinderella phase. They'll get you back home and get you some flowers, get your hair done, get you that purse, and beat the living daylights out you because they're trying to show you not going nowhere. You making me do this, and it's gonna be worse when you go back because they're trying to impose their will to make you not leave. And they tell you don't make a noise because the children going to eat. Or want this. Or I'm gonna kill you and the children. They try everything. When you're leaving, a person leaving, and that Cinderella phase are the most dangerous phases. So please be aware of what's going on. Be aware of your surroundings. Checking balances when you're at work, when you're leaving out. Set in place the stay away order. Follow referrals that the agencies give you, and keep on prayer. Keep praying, and God gonna see you through.
So what do you say to that man? Because I know sometimes the man is being abused. What do
I'm
you
gonna
say
be
to
honest.
that man that's being abused?
Two words. You go. See, let me tell you something. See, a woman, when she's being abused, she has children. When a man's being abused, he don't have children. If that's not a conducive environment for you, your best bet is to leave, get your attorney, and do what you need to do to get yourself straight at your house. But staying there, fighting with that woman, is going to lead to a more tragic situation, and it just becomes elevated and more intense, and somebody can get severely hurt or mortally wounded. So, you know, they have men that get abused, and I'm sorry, and they have people of different sexualities get abused. And all I can say is that you can't be a victim, you have to be a survivor. And just leave. But it's harder for a woman to leave out of the house with three children and then leave a car and we walking on the bus. I mean, it's a whole different, and she's actually doing abusing. If she's abusing you, sometimes you might it's okay for a man to go to Salvation Army for a couple of weeks. You can go. Hey, look, Captain, this happened again. Here's my dear ID. Can I stay in the transitional room? You might need to get away from that. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't make that person appreciate. One thing you can't do is you can't make a person appreciate you.
And you can't make a person change. So
You
speak
sure can.
to that. How people will think, oh, they'll change. Oh, all the excuses. What
Yeah.
do you say to all of the excuses?
He didn't hit me the day he threw a plate. She didn't throw any
Okay.
grease on me. She threw water. I mean, you know what I'm saying? you know, it's your level of understanding. Some people are drawn to that, but you eventually, if you can't help everybody, something's sure gonna happen. You're gonna get tired eventually. Whether it's a man, woman, juvenile, teenager, something's gonna happen where it becomes so explosive you're gonna have to leave. And that's why I try to get this book to give people an avenue and a pathway. And I talk about it to give them an opportunity to help themselves get out, because a lot of people don't know it's abuse for a person to take their cell phone or take the car or not give them gas money. They know I'm not, you know what? I'm not going to give you the child support money. Starve this week. Things like that. I'm not going to work. I'm just going to quit. I'm just going to quit. You're just going to just lose your house. And anything where is a exertion of power is very dangerous. And like I said, it's usually targeted to a woman.
All right. So, any final words of encouragement? What do you say? Okay, what if the abuser happened to be watching this show today and they know they're the abuser? What do you say to them?
Go get you some help. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, out of all the people that I've talked to, I've only seen it twice where the person actually changed. And that the person actually changed. They didn't change because the woman made them change. They didn't change because they felt like they had changed. The opportunity caused them and presented itself to make them change, and that was it. But usually you're sleeping with, you're basically sleeping with I'm sorry to say this, you're sleeping with the enemy, because guess what? At any time, any place, in any opportunity, that person's gonna lash out. If you're an abuser, go get some counseling. If you've been abused, go get some counseling. If the children around, take them to get counseling, because they can pick up a lot of negative behaviors that they see or that you think they're not hearing.
So, okay, so that really brings a great question with the children. So, if the man is the one that's being abused, do he just leave the kids there?
No, you take your children with you and you set up, if the person's not trying to per se kill you, and they actually set up, the DA or the judge sets up a visitation, you might want to get it supervised. And if it's pick up and drop off, you might want to do that at the police station. You can do that. Also, if you're
That's
if you're in the
good.
separation
That's good.
phase, if you're at the separation phase and you get a divorce, your stairway order becomes null and void. You have to reapply for that again so it can kick in. Because if not, it's no good. Once you get a divorce, you have to refile again.
Okay. All right. So, any final words of encouragement? We got 2 minutes.
My words of encouragement is, no matter what you do, believe in what you're doing. Don't go back. Try and find other avenues to deal with the situation that present themselves, because if you've experienced a serious injury, you can develop PTSD and not even know it. Go get some counseling. Stay away. Don't go back, because Cadillac is not gonna change. He's gonna be the same way.
The same thing. Okay. Well, I'm gonna put your Facebook link out here. If anyone have any questions, they can reach out to you directly. I have already put the link to the book in Amazon. I recommend that you go out, read the book, get the book. Maybe you're not going through domestic violence, but it's great information that you can use, and you'll be able to identify and see for yourself and be able to help somebody else. So I appreciate you being my guest tonight, sir.
Thank you. It was truly a pleasure. Anytime you want to talk about things as it relates to criminal justice, I'm more than welcome. And I really thank you and your listeners as well. Thank you.
All right. Well, this has been Touching You Talk Show. Have a great day, everyone.